Hi, this is Phil from PDQ Merchant Enterprises and the ATM Mastermind group page, and today we're here to talk about FallBack. All right, so what is FallBack? To really describe what FallBack is, I'm going to take you back a little point in time. Is before we had EMV, which is a chip on your card, we had the issuers, they issued a card. And all the fraudulent charges that occurred, the issuers would pay for. We used to see, oftentimes we used to see an error message that says stolen card or fraudulent card, and a lot of people would call us up and say, what do I do? How is that going to affect me? And our response was, that's the issuer's challenge. What they'll do is they'll shut the card down or something else, but all our job is to dispense the money. And so we would see that error from time to time. We would still dispense the money. Okay. Then what happened is they decided, in Europe they started about 20 years ago to do EMV, and they brought this over to the US. And we had a requirement to get all our machines up and running and EMV compliant, which meant they take the chip card by October of 2017. Okay. Now, if they said it wasn't a mandatory update, but what we wanted to do is they're going to shift the liability. So any fraudulent charge or any card charge, if it was stolen or anything of that nature, now would be passed on to the person who owns the ATM if in fact they didn't upgrade to EMV, which is accept the chip card. So in the industry, a lot of people decided, you know what, I'm not going to update. I don't want to go through that whole horrendous of buying the EMV upgrade kit, or sometimes the ATM was so old it couldn't be updated. What they say is, you know what, I'll just see what happens. Well, what happened is when they shifted the liability and you don't accept the card, now you were hit with the liability charge of whatever they decided to dispense. Case in point, somebody comes up to your ATM, they take out $200, you don't have an EMV chip, it was a fraudulent charge. Now the person who owns the ATM was responsible not only for the $200 that they dispense, they get another $200 because they could say, oh, it's fraud. Now you're hit for $400 on a $200 dispense. You in fact lost $200. And that people say, well, that's not going to happen too often, still not going to upgrade. But what happened is people started realizing, you know what, they're not EMV upgraded, I'm just going to dispute the charge. And now it created a snowball. From time to time, people started losing hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Somebody would take their card, which was EMV, had the EMV chip on it. They'd go up to the ATM, take out $200, take out $200, take out $200, up to $800, $1,000. Then they would dispute the charge, and now the ATM operator could lose as much as that person tried to do. The cardholder had 6 months, because that's the way the rules were, 188 days to, I'll say it again, 180 days to dispute that charge. So if they found an ATM that didn't take an EMV card, they could go there, take out money, and 6 months later or 5 months later, dispute the charge. So that's how the whole thing started. So most of the industry, if not all, said what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade to take the chip card, and therefore we're okay. Well, now what happened is they started hitting us with FallBack. Now, 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago, Visa and MasterCard, they set their FallBack thresholds to, MasterCard was 5%, Visa was 2.5%, and what they said is, look, you put an EMV card into the ATM, it doesn't read it, it will fall back to the swipe, which is the way it used to be, and we have no problem. We're going to give you these thresholds for anomalies, maybe a dirty card reader, maybe the chip doesn't work, maybe it's the network, there was something with the network, and you'll still be able to process the transactions. That was all well and good, but it was based on, when they originally wrote these rules, it was based on financial, we call them FIs, financial institution, and the volumes were real high. So an ATM on a 2% volume wasn't a big deal based on 5,000 transactions in a month. But now, as we get more independent ATM operators out there, they might only do 100 to 200 transactions. And so 2% of 100 is 2 transactions. So now you're getting these fallback charges. And the networks wrote the rule, not the networks, but Visa, MasterCard wrote the rules of it's $1 a transaction. So maybe they pay a certain percentage to process a transaction, and now they're going to fine you double, if not triple, what the original cost was to process that transaction. So you're getting really killed by this on a situation that most of the time you can't control. So not only that, now Visa and MasterCard, they're lowering their threshold volume. Where MasterCard started at 5%, now it's 3.5. They're going to eventually go to 1%, and you will see an increase of fallback. Not only for MasterCard, now maybe you haven't seen it with MasterCard yet because the thresholds were still high, but Visa now is around 2%. So you're starting to see fallback charges on your statement every month, and this is detrimental to you being in an ATM business. Now, if you want tips on how to minimize your fallback, you can always go to the ATM Mastermind group page. We give you 4 tips on how to minimize your fallback charges. So I highly encourage you to join the ATM Mastermind group. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Hope this tip is helpful. Thank you very much.